welcome back to Same Right Fashion Academy YouTube channel once again today for another interesting tutorial. So today's tutorial will be focusing on the drafting of a bustier with yoke. Okay, so looking right there on the thumbnail, we have a bustier with yoke attached to it. So for the sake of the beginners on this channel, I actually want to start this drafting right from the beginning. Okay, so you come in with your plain pattern paper. Okay, and the next thing you need to do is to create your border lines. The border lines we have here are 1 inch border lines. So if you have your border lines, then you trace out your lines. So the next measurement now, you call what you have right here your shoulder line. So this is the shoulder line where all measurements have to start from. So I'll be placing my tape on the shoulder line. Let me keep my paper like this. So from the shoulder line, I place my tape. And the first line I have is called my chest line. The second line I have is the bust line. The third one is the under bust. And the last line is your waistline or your front length. So what we have here is called the center front. So now it's time for us to start imputing what we have as the shoulder measurement. So my shoulder measurement right from the center front, my shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2. I'll be having 7.5 inches. Okay, so from that same line, I'll also come in with the neckline circumference. So the neckline circumference right here depends on your bust measurements. My bust is 40 inches. Divide by 12. I have 3.25. So I make a mark of 3.25. So whatever your bust is, you have to make your mark of what it gives you by dividing by 12 on the depth and on the width of your neckline. So I'll come in with my ruler right now, and I'm going to create my neckline. So you can see me creating my neckline right away. So from the center front, I have my shoulder divided by 2, and from there I will come down by 1 inch. So once I come down by 1 inch, I'm going to connect from that point in a slanted form. So this is called my chest line, and this is called your bust point. We call this the under bust point, and we call it the waist line. So whatever your measurement is from the shoulder to the bust point, under bust and waistline, you impute them accordingly. So I placed my tape on the shoulder like this and measured my bust point line, my under bust point line, and my waist line. Alright, so for the chest line, the formula for your chest line is your bust. You'll be making use of whatever your bust is. Divide by 6 plus 1.5. Whatever thing you have on your bust, please impute it right here. Divide by 6 plus 1.5. For me, I have 8 inches on the chest line, and you can see from the drop of the shoulder, because the human shoulder is not as straight as this, I have to come down by 8 inches from the shoulder drop. Alright, so on the chest line, I'll also place my tape on the center front, and here I have half of my shoulder, and I'm going to connect what I have on the half of the shoulder to the shoulder line. Alright, so the next thing is to create my armhole. So I'm going to find the midpoint of 8 inches. This is the midpoint, and from that midpoint I'm going to come in by 3/4, which is 0.75, and I will connect from here to here, And then to complete the armhole, I'll come from the center front and impute my bust. My bust is 40, bust circumference is 40. Divide by 4 will give me 10 inches. I'm dividing by 4 because I'm working on half of my bodies. So I'll come in with my pattern ruler. As you can see, you see how I'm positioning my pattern ruler. I'll make it touch the slanted line and come back to the chest line to form my armhole. So the next thing we want to do now is impute what we call the bust pan, the bust pan circumference. The bust pan measurement. The bust pan is the measurement you have from one nipple to the other. So on the bust point line from the center front, I'll come in by half of it, my bust circumference. I'll also, my bust span, I'll drop it on the waistline. So I'll be able to make a full straight line from that point to this point. So I'm making use of a dart of 1.5 inches, okay, on my waist dart. So I will divide 1.5 inches by 2. I will have 0.5. So I'm imputing 0.5 on this side and 0.5 on this side. So I'm using the mid part of my tape because the front of the tape is not that straight. So what I have from here to here is 3/4 or 0.5 inches, and from here to here is 3/4 or 0.5 inch. So I connect back to the bust point. So this is the nipple point. At this point is the nipple point. So the next thing I want to do, I've already imputed on the chest line my bust circumference divided by 4. So bust circumferences are usually imputed on the chest line, okay? So the next I will do is to come to the waist. If I come to the waist, I'll be imputing the circumference of my waist. My waist is 36, divided by 4 is 9 inches. Plus 1.5 inch dart. I'll come in here and replace the dart of 1.5. So once the dart is replaced, I'm going to connect my body's pattern. So now we want to impute what we call the bust dart. So the bust dart is the difference between the front length and the back length. Okay, so in this tutorial, we'll be drafting the front piece of this dress. So for the back piece of this dress, if I will have to show you what it looks like, I will come over to this side for the back piece, okay? So I will just create my border line again because we want to draft what we have on the back. So I actually want to show you how the back measurements usually looks like. So for the chest line, you are going to extend the chest line to the back. This is the back, and this is the shoulder line, as you can see. So on the back, on the shoulder line, I would want to start from the shoulder line. I'm imputing half of my shoulder again. This is it. And my chest, my bust divide by 12. I'm also imputing it here. But for the back, I'll be making use of 1 inch dart for my natural neckline. So the natural neckline is your actual neckline before the creation of any neckline of your choice. So I connect, you can see how I connect the neckline. Now I'm going to come to the shoulder measurement, divide by 2 from the center back. This is the center back. I will come down from that point by 1 inch, okay? So I'm going to slant my ruler to the neckline. And I'll come over back to the chest line. And on the chest line, I'm going to impute my shoulder divide by 2 once again. So it has to be equal with what we have here. So we get a straight line for the armhole. So what we have here is the chest line, which is 8 inches. I find the midpoint. So when you are coming in from this line, you come in by 0.5 for the back. Remember, for the front, we came in by 0.75, and that is standard, and it works for everybody. So I connect with a straight line to the shoulder tip, and then I'm going to measure my bust circumference, divide by 4, and create my mark. So I'll be able to place my pattern ruler accordingly. Can you see that? So I place my pattern ruler accordingly. So the next measurement now is what we call the back length, which is taken from the shoulder. The back length I'm making use of here is 15. Remember that I'm going to rule this line, which is the back length. So remember that our front length, this is the waistline for the front, and this is the waistline for the back. Okay, so if you look at the back length, you can see the back length from the shoulder is 15, and the front length for the dress is 17. So 17, take away 2 inches from this line. We are making use of this line for the difference. This is the line of the front, and this is the line of the back. So you can see we have 2 inches at that point. So it is these 2 inches we are going to impute right here now. From the bust point, I have 2 inches. Half of it is 1 inch. And then I will connect this to the bust point. I'll bring it back to the half. From this half, I'll come out by 0.5. I will close it this way to the chest line. What we did there is to accommodate our dart when we are going to cut the close up the bust dart. Of course, you see what happens when we'll be closing up the bust dart. All right, people, so we go back to the back to finish up what we have on the back. So on the waistline for the back, I'm imputing my waist measurement. My waist measurement is 9 inches. I'm adding 1.5 inch for my dart. Okay, so I've already added it because I'm going to create my dart, and I'm going to close up what I have on that line. So the dart of 1.5 inches now will be, I'll be dividing my waist. My waist is 9 inches. I'll get the midpoint. So this is the midpoint right here. And that midpoint, I'll transfer it to the chest line to create what I have on the back pattern. So from this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and I will connect to the point of my dart. So here I have created my dart leg. So next is to find the share the dart. This is 1.5 inch, which we added from here to here. I'm going to share it in 2 equal parts to create my dart. So I'm connecting my dart for the back like this. All right, so as it is, we have finished with the back, but I want you to note that we have the back contour line, because the human back is not as straight as this. So since the human back is not as straight as this, I'll be coming in to contour my line by 0.75. So once I do that, this is how I place my ruler to contour the back. I'm using my red marker to do this. You can see that. So what all these things we have right here is not part of it, and we are going to cut it out. So this line becomes the new center back, and that is where we are going to sew our zipper to this dress. So there is no seam allowance added to these patterns. Okay, I want you to take note that seam allowances are not added, but when we are cutting on the fabric, we'll add our seam allowances accordingly. So now I contoured with 0.5. I'm going to replace 0.75. I'm going to replace the 0.75 from this point. I'm going to add 0.75, and I will extend this line to touch the 0.75, and this is it. From here to here, I'm going to connect. So what we have right here is the replacement of what we are going to cut off from here. So as it stands right now, we are done with the basic body. So this is what we call the basic bodice pattern. So now we want to jump into the main business of this tutorial. So the main business of this tutorial is the bust with yoke. So this is called pattern alteration. So we want to start off the pattern alteration. That is altering the basic bodice pattern to fit to what we are actually making. So for the basic bodice pattern alteration, the first thing we are going to do is to divide our shoulder seam line of our basic bodice by 2. This is the half of it, and I'm going to connect it directly to the bust point. So once that is connected to the bust point, the next we want to do is to take the bust radius. From the bust point, I take my bust radius all around. So whatever your difference of bust point and under bust is, just make dotted lines with them all around, like this, like that, like that. So this will help us to determine the area at which our bust is going to sit. Alright people, so we'll be altering this pattern now. So the first thing we want to do is to determine the neckline of this dress. So to determine the neckline of this dress, I'm going to come with my red marker. So I make this pattern very clear for you. So from the bust point, I'm going to mark the bust radius, which is the dotted lines I just made all around on this line. So from this bust radius, I want to cover the bust, so I'll come up by 0.75. Now I'm connecting what we have on this. I'm connecting it on that point directly. I'm taking it to the center front line. So you can see how I kept my ruler to form that curve. So I connect this to the center front line like this. Okay, so this is the yoke part of it. Then I will come back from here. Can you see how I'm positioning my ruler? Sorry about that. I want to position it in a way. So if you know your ruler cannot give you exactly what you want. So what I'm going to do now, I will use my straight ruler as a guide first. So this is the straight ruler that will guide me right now. So on this line, I'm going to come down by 0.5 or 0.75. Let me come down by 0.75 so we can have a good curve at that point. So I'll keep my pattern ruler like this. That is it. The pattern ruler will give me what I want. Okay, so you have to shift it to get exactly what you want. So from here I go in with the curve, so you can see what I have in the curve right now. So the yoke part of this dress, the way it is on the thumbnail, I'm going to use what I have right here, which is 2.5 inches, or I can come in by 1.5 because it's actually looking like a canoe neckline. So I'll just come in by 1.5, and on the natural neckline I'll come by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect. Okay, so my connection, I'm trying to get a good connection for the neckline as it is on the thumbnail right there. So you can see how I placed my ruler to have that neck.